Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sign1News Live Virtual Chat. I am Martha Anger. Today, you're going to meet a young deaf activist who is challenging the disability community with questions like, is there a double standard in the deaf community when it comes to specific disabilities? She will share her thoughts. And of course, as always, we welcome your thoughts, questions, and viewpoints on the topic. But before we get to our hot topic discussion, you know what to do. Let us know where you're watching us from, what country, what city, what state, and we'll give your city a shout out after this quick look at a couple of stories trending in the news today. Police in Canada are preparing for an influx of truckers opposing Canada's new COVID-19 vaccine mandates. For 2 weeks, truckers who call themselves the Freedom Convoy have clogged the highways in cities like Ottawa and Toronto with their big rigs. They're in opposition to a new mandate requiring drivers entering Canada be fully vaccinated or face testing and quarantine requirements. Even though the group's $9 million GoFundMe account was shut down, the movement is still picking up many more supporters. And police are now closing off roads, installing extra closed circuit TV cameras, and the officers assigned to the protest must wear their body cameras and have them recording at all times. If there's anyone watching us from Canada right now, let us know what you think about this protest. For the first time since the January 6th riot at the Capitol, former Vice President Mike Pence delivered his strongest response to his former boss, President Donald Trump, by calling him out during a speech in Orlando. Pence says Trump was wrong to claim that Pence had the right to overturn the 2020 election. He said the presidency belongs to the American people and the American people alone. He also took a swipe at the Democratic Party by saying, under the Constitution, I had no right to change the outcome of our election. And current Vice President Kamala Harris will have no right to overturn the election when we, Republicans, beat them, Democrats, in 2024. A California couple and their dog are finally rescued after being stranded in a remote cabin for 2 months. According to a press release, a December winter storm caused trees to fall and trapped the couple in the home. When their food started to run out, they called officials for help. A helicopter successfully landed near the cabin and rescued them. Officials say the couple has been reunited with their loved ones, but no word yet on their identity. And speaking of rescues, a couple of animal rescue videos have gone viral this week. Watch this amazing body cam video as a deputy in Colorado battles heavy smoke to save a dog trapped inside a burning SUV. And the grateful pup licks his hands at the end to say thank you. Oh, so cute. All right, this next video is quick, but it was a quick reaction of an Idaho state trooper that kept a cat from running away. The trooper had pulled over a van and found controlled substances inside, as well as a couple of pets. While he was waiting for animal control to show up, a cat made a break for it, but the trooper did a flying belly flop to catch it before it could get away. Check this out. That is so cute. All right, let's check the chat room to see what cities are being represented today. Representing your country, your state, your city. Come on, put it in the chat. Hello, Virginia. Welcome. Welcome to Sign1News, to our virtual chat. Go ahead. Just let us know where you're representing, what city you're from. Let us know. And does anybody have any comments about the news stories that we had today before we move on to our chat? Kansas. Hi there, Kansas. Hi, Tanya. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Okay. Are you ready to know who our special guest is today? I've known this young lady for many, many years. When I lived in Austin, Texas, that was my hometown. Let me just share a little brief history about how I know Julia Kennedy. Actually, I met her father, a devoted activist in the area. He's a BIPOC, for deaf community, and for the Texas School for the Deaf. As an alumni, the president contacted me and said, would I mind coming to help and going to the Texas Senate Finance Committee to just share my testimony and my story about Texas School for the Deaf, in my life, and just show proof for funding, that the school works, education, what have you. And that's how I met Jim Kennedy. That's her father. And so we were sitting right next to each other. We only had 3 minutes max. And Jim, very proud of his daughter, Julia, and he was explaining. And I was watching him and I was listening, and it just gave me goosebumps as he was sharing his story. And so when the hearing was done, we shook hands, nice to meet you. And then, I've been watching his daughter ever since. She's graduated. Oh, she's grown so much, and she's such a success now. She's become an activist herself, just like her dad, like father, like daughter. So that's our story. Okay. Julia, can you just share your activism? Well, first of all, about your activism at Texas School for the Deaf. Julia, how you followed in your dad's footsteps and your social platform. Oh, hello, everybody. The audience is saying hello to you guys. So please welcome Julia and her dad, Jim Kennedy. So we're going to start with a question. Everybody ready?
Mhm.
So Julia, we'll start with you. Just catch me up on what you've been doing since the last time, you graduated from Texas School for the Deaf. Sure. When I graduated from school, I went to Hampton University, HBCU school. It's a private school. It's in Virginia. At the same time I was in college, I did some social media to spread awareness about people with disabilities. And I tried to expand my social media platform as well, so that people could recognize me as an advocate for people with disabilities. I'm the first. Let me go back. I'm going too fast. So when I went to Hampton University, I knew they had no experience with the deaf community before. I was the first deaf student there, and I needed interpreters. And I realized I needed to become an advocate for deaf people and hard of hearing people. And so I started campaigns about awareness of people who are deaf and who have disabilities, both. And then I realized I needed to add more. So when the pandemic started, I wanted to spread awareness about that as well. Being a Black woman, that's important. So we could have that conversation. I'm Black and I'm deaf, a woman. I identify with more than one. And so I want to let you know, I'm proud to let you know I'm a senior now. Soon I'm going to be graduating. I'm so proud of my work. And so I'm
Film
I was in
studies.
graphic design studies, and now
Film and television studies.
got it. Thank you, Dad. Now, film is not just acting, it's a very broad field. There's writing, there's directing, there's videography, you know. You have a fan there, Julia. Tanya says, I'm so proud of you, girl. You rock. And I realized that film did not have the representation of the disability community. So when I graduated, there weren't a lot of Black deaf people in movies. That's how you tell your story, through writing, through film. I'm doing the same thing. I realized that growing up. I became a filmmaker and a director. Can you say that again? Oh, that's fine. The same for me. I grew up, I became a filmmaker because I wanted to change the world through our lens and our experience and our viewpoint and our lives. It's different. Even BIPOC deaf experience a little bit more and a little different, because people do look at skin color and they see deaf, but still it's the same experience as a deaf person, but then you kind of add a little bit more. You keep adding on and adding on. I'm excited that you're bringing it all together. So I also have cerebral palsy. So people see a person with a Black disability and then deaf. Because, you know, deaf is not visible to people. And so that's important. Great point. Great point. Beautiful. I know you got that from your dad. He's such a fighter. Keep going. My dad has helped me so much growing up. I went to copy after my dad. He taught me to be an advocate. And so now I want to hear from you, Jim. Just kind of share a little bit about yourself, you know, how you inspired your daughter to become an advocate just like you.
Well, and thank you. And because I do not sign as fast anymore, I'm thankful that you are here to help me. But when Julia was born, one of the things that she was still in the hospital, she was born premature. And one of the things that the doctor said was, she's got cerebral palsy, she's got deaf, don't expect too much, and just take her home and love her up. And my wife and I said, no, that's not going to happen. We want her to be the best Julia that she can be. So we, just like, you know, a lot of parents, we really rearranged our lives to help Julia. And like a lot of, parents of people who are deaf, we ended up having to move multiple times to get Julia the education that she needed. So we were willing to do that because we saw that light and that fire in Julia, and we knew that she had something special. And so we wanted to make sure that she had every opportunity to succeed. One of the things that my wife and I firmly believe in, and we believe in to this day, is just because you can't do things one way, then you need to find another way. And so that's really became our family motto, which is find another way. And so what we did with Julia is we said, okay, we didn't, one of the things that people always said was that, maybe you're giving an unfair advantage to your daughter. And we said, no, we want to level the playing field and then let Julia shine. And that's all we did. We just said we wanted her to have the same access as everybody else. And as long as she does that, she can do whatever she wants to do. So we did not seek an unfair advantage. However, when people were, let's say, they were not aware of either ADA laws or IDEA laws, we made sure that they were aware, but we also taught Julia those same laws so that she could advocate for herself. And that's the biggest thing that we wanted to do. And we wanted Julia to be able to be a productive citizen. And that's really our only goal. And whatever we wanted Julia to have the opportunity to do whatever she wanted to do. We did not want anyone to put obstacles in her way. So we worked to remove those obstacles. But we just wanted to make sure that she had a level playing field so that she could basically go for her dreams just like anybody else.
Yes. And I want to add something too, Dad.
Yep.
Remember you wrote about everything that you do? And that's how I followed your footsteps. You will fight for my accessibility. You fought for equal opportunity with everyone else. And I could see that. He taught me those things I could do as well.
Yeah. And one of the things that I did was, and you know this, Julia, when we were at TSD, a lot of parents did not know the rights that their child had, that they had for their children, not just their children, but them as caregivers. They did not know that. They were not familiar with the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. They were not familiar with IDEA. They were not familiar with ADA. And one of the things that we did, we gave a number of presentations to parents of deaf students at TSD, and the majority of them, of course, were hearing, and they really didn't know. So we did those presentations and we said, we have to share this information. So we shared our story, and then we also shared the resources that we used so that other parents could know what is available to them. And also, one of the things that we, even though I'm not doing it right now, in our home, we use total communications, which means we sign, we speak, we do whatever we need to do. And everybody in the family is a family of 5. We all sign. So we want to make sure that Julia is included. So we do that, and we want to make sure that, we just wanted to make sure that it's important that as a parent, I communicate my values, my desires. I communicate directly with Julia so that she knows that I care and I love her, and it's not. We're not going through a third party. We're doing our communication directly.
And also, I want to add that my family always encouraged me that I can do it. Do not give up. I didn't want to walk away from that. When my parents said, no, don't give up. You can do it. I tell you, my experience as a college student, I want to walk away sometime. I'm done with this. It's a lot of work. But I'm so happy that I have parents who would not let me give up.
You pushed her.
Yep.
Go ahead.
It made me feel so proud that I have parents who really support me, and that they will always be there for me. That's so important to have that. I agree. And I've already asked you that same question. You guys have explained how your dad influenced you to become an activist. And so you watched everything, Julia, that they were doing, and you just followed in his footsteps to become a self-advocate for the deaf and the disability community. So now the next question is kind of important. So can you share your thoughts on what it means to have a double standard in the deaf community? Can you share your thoughts on that? Sure. Before I give you my thoughts on the double standard. Like, for example, double standard, like, so the deaf community has a lot of involvement in the culture. You have deaf blind, But when we, protest and we're fighting for our deaf rights, we sometimes forget about people who are deafblind in the deaf community and have other disabilities. So hearing people oppress deaf people, and then deaf people oppress people with other disabilities. It's the same in the Black community who oppress the Black deaf community. It's kind of similar to that. That's kind of what I mean by double standards. Oh, thank you for explaining that. Now I got it. So when I was at Texas School for the Deaf, that's kind of where I started. So when I was a senior there, they were talking about deaf interpreters, things like that. And they were teaching you how to be an advocate for yourself. Things like housing and things like that. And it really bothered me. And they were talking about deaf. But they forgot about if you're deaf and you have other disabilities. We're more diverse than that. And so they were talking about deaf, and that's fine. But what about people who are deaf and have other disabilities? I feel like you forgot about us. We have more experience. More hardships. Where's our voice? So when I was at Texas School for the Deaf, that's what I saw, so many things, and I realized that they just forgot about deaf people with disabilities. And as I was growing up, so I ran into people who wanted to know more and more. My government teacher at that time taught me about different laws. And I did some research. And I did a research paper. So I wanted to do a different research paper, so my government teacher encouraged me to do that. And she gave me the opportunity to do the research. The research was a lot. I asked my dad questions for my research paper about IDEA. IDEA had more accommodations. For employment, but it was mostly for adult accommodations. So IDA for K through 12. And I was like, oh, that was different. Dad, could you help me for a second?
She's talking about, okay, what she was talking about was the her experience there, and when she went into her IEP meeting, she was like, especially like when she was a senior, she basically took control because she understood IDEA, ADA, and the options that she had available for her. And so she was able to present and represent herself uh, about what she wanted to do in the future instead of having somebody else say what she wanted to do or try to decide something for her, which is kind of what happened in the past with her. And if I can add one thing, when Julia first, not just at TSD, but at other schools, uh, when it was one thing about going to a school for the deaf, but you were talking about the double standard. What people wanted to do, deaf people wanted to do when they saw that she had an additional disability, they wanted to put her in the special needs program. And they said, well, she needs to be in special needs. She can't really learn in the regular environment. And we said, there's nothing wrong with her brain. Her, cerebral palsy is a physical disease, and there's nothing wrong with her brain. She's got an average IQ. She can learn. And so we would fight to make sure that she was in the regular classes. And the funny thing, and one of the reasons why Julia is laughing right now, is because even when we got to TSD, people wanted to do that. And we said, no. She's going to be in the regular class. And her principal, especially Terry Robbins down there, her middle school principal, really believed in her. And
oh, I know who that is. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
That was my old teacher as well.
Yeah.
It was my middle school teacher also.
And so it was, she can do anything. And she had a great, a number of great teachers down there. But you had some teachers that thought, well, she doesn't, they really didn't want to take the time to teach people who had an additional disability. But Julia ended up with the last laugh because Julia graduated number 4 in her class. So she was able to, and she was not a graduate, so she was able to move on. And now she's at Hampton and she's succeeding. So when we talk about, when people say you can't do something, one of the things that Julia likes to do is to prove people wrong. And that's why she's been a fighter since birth. So I'm very proud that she is still that way.
And let me add as well to my dad's comment. When I was growing up, when I was a baby, the doctor said that you can't talk or walk. And I proved the doctor wrong. I walk, I talk. So when I got a little bit older and went to deaf school, a lot of people were saying, you can't learn, you can't do sports or be an athlete. I proved them wrong. At Texas School for the Deaf, I did plays.
Here.
She did theater. And people are like, oh, I can do it. My senior year, a lot of people were saying that they thought And I would go to a 2-year college. I'm going to a 4-year college. I'm going to prove people wrong. And so I went. And now you're in Hampton. You're at HBCU. That's a big deal. Also, I want to mention again the double standard. As a deaf person with an additional disability from a hearing family, deaf people tend to say, "Oh, did you go to Gallaudet?" And my parents were like, "You don't have to go to Gallaudet. If you want to, you can, but you have other options as well. You can go to an HBCU and to another university. Go." I was like, "Fine." And the university accepted me. RIT, Hampton University. And I had to decide which one I wanted to go to. So it came down to RIT in Hampton. So my mom graduated from the university. So why don't you go to the same school? I was like, to the same school as my mom. And I'm glad that I did, because I learned so much about my Black history and my Black identity there at HBCU. So I can learn so much more at HBCU. And so when I'm home now, I was like, "Dang, I learned something new I never knew." Good. And my dad was like, "You're right. Your mom said, sound like you go to an HBCU." So one time I went to my mom and I was like, "Why are Black people ashamed of, the Black hair?" And my mom said, "You sound like you go to an HBCU. And I'm proud of you. But here's my point." And yes, we do experience a lot of oppression from deaf people oppressing deaf people with disabilities, like deafblind. In fact, recently, there were some deafblind people speaking up about and I was excited that they were speaking up, because we need more deafblind people to not be afraid. To say, "Hey, that's not right. You're oppressing us," or we really need to call people out for that, for ableism. That's important. So you've already explained your experience and your education. And so you've been doing a lot of work, speaking up, and activism. Are there people who are agreeing with you, or are there some people criticizing you, and don't disagree with you? I experience that a lot of the times. Oh, Viola Rose, she's making a comment. She's like, "Wow, so glad you, Julia, self-advocating for yourself during the IEP, your life could have turned out differently. I can only imagine. And I want to add to that experience with the IEP meeting. Remember the time the teacher tried to tell me what I want, and my dad got so mad. And my dad was like, my daughter can say whatever she wants. And that's really important and key to that. A lot of people think they can fool people with disabilities. I notice here in the deaf community, they take advantage of people with disabilities. And sometimes my parents have to explain to me that that's not right. And it's because they think they don't have access to the information. Maybe an HBCU school or options of where deaf people can have access. A lot of hearing families don't learn sign language. I was trying to remember what you said. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Can you say that again, please? What did you say? That's fine. No, that's good. It's important information. Yeah, you just said some people do agree with you, but then there are other people who may criticize you when you do speak up. Thank you. A lot of people do agree with me, but my friends in high school, they did criticize me. And I'm like, why are you criticizing me? Yeah, my friends got so tired of me and said, like, it's enough, it's enough. And I'm like, no, it's not enough. A lot of people are saying that's enough, just forget about it. To be honest, I can be a little bit obsessive about it. No, not obsessive, passionate. Passionate is different. Obsessive is different. Passionate is different. Yeah, a lot of people did criticize me. You're talking too much. It was like, just stop talking about it. Sometimes people say, just stop. And I'm like, I will not stop. No. I remember one time in college, a person said to me, be an advocate for yourself, but not for other people. I said, I will be an advocate for other people as well, because it's going to open the door for people to have access and HBCUs as well. I'm not only advocating for myself, I'm advocating for other people as well. Because I feel like I'm just advocating for myself.
Can I say something?
Oh, yes, Dad.
One of the things that Julia has not mentioned is that when she went to college and the people who had never really dealt with a person who was deaf, or especially a deaf disabled person, the thought was, hey, we gave you this little bit, you should be happy. And Julia was like, oh, no way. And this is what I'm entitled to. And when people would say, well, here's all we're going to give you, one of the things that we would always say is we're paying the same amount that everybody else is paying, which means that we have the same rights as everybody else. And so one of the things that Julia has done at her school is Julia has changed the culture to the point where a lot of her fellow students will back her up, even in challenging the administration. So, it's not that it is that what she's doing is outrageous. It's just fighting for what is right.
And the other reason I do social media so that you can share your experience as well. When I graduate, I want to see more deaf people there. I'd be really proud of that. I want to expand on that for deaf people so they can feel safe at an HHBCU.
Remember, I'm sorry, go ahead. Remember, Julia, when you, not too long after you got to Hampton, you met other deaf people in the local community who said, I tried to go to Hampton, but they said they couldn't accommodate me, so I just gave up. I didn't go. And Julia was like, no, you need to come. So she was the first, but she definitely doesn't want to be the last.
Keep going. Keep lifting up the community. Don't give up. Self-advocacy is so important. I know it's a lot of work. I know it's exhausting, but it's worth it. Oh, and now I'm realizing the time is running out. Wow. This is the last important question. No, this is a really great discussion. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, but I want the deaf community, they need to be aware of this. So what are ways that people can address and resolve this issue of a double standard in the deaf community? Really? One thing we can do to resolve that? Have a conversation. Discuss it. Recognize your behavior. Did I make a mistake? Apologize if you hurt other people. Maybe have more panel discussions on our experience. Inviting people with disabilities to maybe bring in a group to discuss their experiences. That's really important. It's key to just have a conversation, discuss with people, not just us, but other people as well. And not just one person, more and more people. Speak up. Something's not right. Say something. And not only people with disabilities need to speak up. And Dad, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Just remember
we have an audience. We have a couple of audience comments for you guys. Dad, after you finish, I want to let the audience, some of the fans, they have so many questions for you guys.
One of the things that we have found out is that in the deaf community, there are a lot more people who are deaf with an additional disability. And it could be things that maybe are not seen. But one of the things that we do and we've taught Julia is, treat people how you would want to be treated, because at some point, that the things that you are talking about or complaining about or criticizing, that could very well happen to you. And so you would like to have a full life. Julia wants to have a full life. She's not asking for, any special treatment. She just wants to have a full and fair access to everything else. So the thing about it is, and I often tell Julia, I said, God kind of has a funny bone, sometimes, because things that, will happen, if you complain or you try and do something against somebody else, eventually it's going to come back around to you. So if you are kind to somebody else, then you want that kindness to come back to you. But if you're mean to somebody, guess what's coming back to you?
Oh, it's true. It's true. And one more thing about social media. Please, please, please. For Black History Month, please recognize Black death disability as well. We need to recognize our work as well. Cameo has a comment. It said, "Hi, Julia. Do you remember when you started as a freshman at university? You asked me it was hard for you, and my advice for you to keep up and don't give up. Follow the mountaintop, and now you earn up the successful." Yeah, I remember that advice. Good job. Good job. Gail says, "Parents, great job and support. Such strength." That's for you, Dad.
Thank you.
Most of the time, I am referencing my dad about for everything. But remember, you are Julia. Your dad's fighting for his generation, and now it's on you for this generation to keep the fight going. And so now, the deaf community, did you see, how we can address and resolve this issue of double standards? Let's just sit down, keep your mouth shut, open your heart, open your mind, and recognize that what the problem is, so that we can find solutions and lift each other up in partnership. So don't forget to recognize the Black deaf disability community as well. Their artists, their creators are so diverse, so as we're celebrating Black History Month as well. Right. I could go on and on and on and on, but time is so short. This has been great catching up with you again. Thank you for joining us and sharing your passion and your platform. Oh, before we close, for the audience, if you want to know more about her social media platform, you can follow Julia here. There's her Instagram right here at the bottom of the screen. You can follow her there. She's got many, many different platforms on awareness to learn more on education. For more information, for the dad's website, Julia can be found here on Twitter as well. It's just the same name, just, it's on everywhere on social media. Okay, do you see it right there at the bottom of the screen? Please go ahead and follow her. Awesome. Now, as you guys already know, Sign1News is partnering with the American Heart Association to offer our Sign1News viewers quick heart healthy tips every week. And if there's a health topic you'd like more information about, just let us know and we'll see if we can get it into the show. The entire month of February is Heart Health Awareness Month for cardiovascular disease and stroke. Take a look at this. That's me and Sign1News editor Michelle kicking off the month by wearing red. This week's heart health tip: reclaim your rhythm. Did you know that cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of women in the United States, more than all forms of cancer? And the AHA is urging not just women, but the entire community to take charge of their health to reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease, which is described as any condition that causes your heart not to function properly, and that can lead to a heart attack or a stroke. So, to reclaim your heart rhythm, the AHA says, let's think musically and get in the groove. Number 1, feed your soul and rock your recipes by eating more fruits and vegetables. Number 2, stay on beat by checking and managing your blood pressure. Number 3, move to the groove by exercising and staying active. Number 4, mellow out and reduce stress. And number 5, learn to two-step. Check out the video we posted on our social media page on December 16th, showing you the 2 simple steps of hands-on only CPR, because you never know when you may have a chance to save someone's life. And that is your Heart Association Heart Health Tip of the Week. Wow, what a great discussion, everybody. Thank you to our amazing guest today, Julia, and her father, Jim, to our viewers, and of course, to our Sign1News app subscribers. You help make this broadcast happen. Now, as always, we like to end each show with words of inspiration, words that will hopefully help you dream a little bigger, aim a little bit higher, and find the courage to be a little bolder. Today's quote comes from American writer, feminist, and civil rights activist Audre Lorde, and it really ties up today's discussion beautifully. It says, "It is not our differences that divide us. It is our inability to recognize, accept, and celebrate those differences." Be sure to join us next Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time for another great live virtual chat. Have a great weekend, everybody, and have a good night.